matters to me the most. And thanks everybody for joining me in this session today, taking time out of a lovely weekend. I'm truly honored, and I sincerely hope that I can do justice to your time. Ashish has suggested that during the session, I share stories and examples from my own life, my experiences, and as we go along, I will do that. So I would like to start the session by saying what I think is the purpose of our life. Why are we all here? The purpose of our life really is to lead a peaceful, harmonious, and happy life. And not only lead ourselves, but also help others be able to do the same. It sounds simple enough. It's not like, being asked to climb a Mount Everest or anything. It sounds simple enough. But it really is not so. And there are many times we find ourselves being unhappy or stressed out. And the reasons could be several. We are facing problems at work, a boss who may not be appreciative, a colleague who's not cooperating, or any other problems at work. There could be issues at home as well. Some issues related with your spouse, domestic help not coming, or it could be related with your child. He or she is not doing well at studies or facing some other issues. So the reasons that we feel unhappy or stressed out could be several. So friends, I have a request. Just take a moment out and think of the reasons that you're unhappy today, the reasons that are making you stressed. And in the chat window, just put down the reasons, the number of reasons that are making you unhappy. Not the reasons per se, but the number of reasons. So we'll just take a minute out to do that. So may I request everybody to put it up on the chat window? Yes, thanks. I can see some responses coming in. Excellent. Yeah, so I think most of the people have responded. And, we'll just take a minute more to have all the responses in. Thanks everyone for sharing this with me. And really the responses have varied from 1 to 5. And I would say this is a very happy group. Sometimes the numbers are more. But if you deep dive into the reasons of unhappiness, there are actually only 2 reasons that we are unhappy ever. And the first reason is that we don't get what we want. And the second reason for unhappiness is we get what we don't want. So these are, friends, only 2 reasons, and we have to work around that. And you will see that in this world, the have-nots are not happy, but even the haves are not happy. And sometimes even when we get the desired outcome, we are not happy about it. So for example, taking the example of stock markets, something that I've been working in for the last almost quarter of a century. Yes, it's been that long. So people lose money in the stock markets all the time. And of course, when you lose money, you're not happy. But sharing instance, when you have invested 100 rupees and it has doubled to 200 in 6 months, and that's an amazing outcome, yeah? But even then people are not happy, and the reasons could be many. Somebody would say, oh, I doubled my money, but I was looking at the stock from the time it was 70, 80 rupees. If I had bought 80 at 80, rather than 100% returns, I could have made much more, 150% returns. Or I sold at 200, I doubled the money, but after I sold, the stock went to 300. So rather than doubling my money, I could have tripled. Or then somebody would say, I timed it well, the entry and the exit perfect, but I invested only so much. I could have invested much more and made much more money. So even when we got the desired outcome, which was doubling of the money in 6 months, it's a very good outcome. Even then we are not happy. So friends, what I would like to say here is that things, situations, outcomes are not always going to be as desired. There will be ups and downs in our life. And how we react to that? when there is something positive, something that comes which we like, we jump, we dance with joy, we feel elated. And on the other side, if things don't go well and we face failures in our life, we get depressed, we feel desolate, we become anxious, we get agitated, we don't sleep well. And the worst part is we don't limit this misery to ourselves. We spread this misery to others who come in our contact, be our family members or colleagues. So the endeavor today and what we're trying to achieve today through today's session is to be able to learn to maintain mental balance and equanimity in each situation so that we can achieve our goal of leading healthy and happy life free of stress and free of mental tension. And what I believe is that we cannot achieve this merely by talking or discussing or reading or intellectualizing. We can achieve the goal that we're talking about today only through practice, by doing the right actions, and changing our habit patterns, both physical and mental habit patterns. So what I'm going to do today is take you through a simple 7-step SOP. And what I think is good about this SOP, it is very simple to understand. It is very simple to practice, and the results are humongous. The returns are humongous. It is very, very beneficial. And most of it is aligned around the laws of nature. So very easy to implement in our lives. So I will start with the first SOP, which I believe very seriously about, is a practice of giving. Now, coming back to nature, if you look at things in nature, like right now I'm looking out of a window and there's beautiful nature outside. I can see the sun shining, trees, breeze. You see everything in nature, be it the river or the rain or the trees. They give continuously and they give without constraint. They give it unconditionally. And that is the beauty of the nature. And if we align ourselves to be like nature, and instead of being a taker, become a giver, our life changes. You know, in our life, we are always in a race to try and get more and more out of life. But the best way of getting more out of life is by giving. And what I have done here is put up my personal checklist. Not to say this is the best checklist or the most comprehensive checklist. You can all have your own checklist of giving, but I've just put down mine. And my checklist means give your parents time. This is what they need from you, really. Give your in-laws respect. Your spouse, the most important person in your life, top priority. Give your children acceptance. Of course, this is on top of the zillion pizza treats and all that they may ask for. But really what they crave from parents is acceptance. Children are products of nature. They are not machine-made. They are not going to be perfect. Accept them for who they are. Give your teachers obedience. What would be without our teachers? And I don't mean that we cannot question them. We cannot have discussions with them. Of course, we have to do that. But along with all this, obedience is a must. As Ashish had mentioned, I have done several Vipassana camps. They are 10 days. And whenever I have a doubt regarding the theory or the practice of it, I walk up to my teacher. There, you take an appointment, you walk up and you get that clarified. But they also run on very, very strict rules, code of conduct while you're there. And my obedience to those rules is 100%. And it's also a mark of respect to your teacher. Coming to employer, be loyal to the company's, your employer's vision and mission while you are working with your employer. Give your friends laughter. What would our life be without our friends? They are really the vitamin F standing for fun and friends in our life. They're also caregivers and heads of their family. So when you meet, give them a reason to smile, share a joke with them, give them a reason to laugh. Give your domestic help at least one hot meal a day. You don't know which background they're coming from, the situation at their place. At least when they are home, ensure that they have at least one hot meal a day. And give underprivileged avenues. And this goes beyond just giving them money. Avenues for growth, avenues for new opportunities. And the thing that bothers me today is the accelerating pace of inequality that I see everywhere around, and it is mostly inequality of opportunity. So since Ashish has suggested, and I'll take an example from Sage 1 also. So what do you do for Diwali gifting? We had various ideas, we brainstormed various ideas, and we said, suppose we've set a certain kitty aside for Diwali gift, let it be 100 rupees, 500 rupees, whatever. We said, rather than spend it on, gift wrapping things, couriering them, it increases the global footprint, the carbon footprint also. What we will do, we will donate that to a charity. So the first year, what we did, on behalf of each of our investors, we gifted a Braille book to a blind school for girls. And when Diwali came, we wished all our investors and we told them, this is what we have done on your behalf. On your behalf, we have gifted a Braille book to a blind girl, blind school's library. And we hope that their wishes add cheer to your celebrations. So this is what we did. The best part about giving is you can do it anytime, anywhere. And it need not only be monetary. Giving your time, love, compassion is all giving. And giving has to be done without expecting anything for yourself. Because once you do that, you think that giving will give me name, fame, it will benefit me in this way, then the giving becomes dushit. It becomes corrupted. And the nature really awards the right intention. So the intention behind giving is very important. Friends, given the privileged position that we are in, we have the power to empower. We can use it to change the trajectory of at least one underprivileged person. By giving more, we get more. By helping others, we help ourselves. So giving is a very simple way to ensure that we live a happy and content life. I will go to the next SOP. So we come to the next SOP, which is of practice of gratitude. Now, giving and receiving are really the two sides of the same coin. We have talked about from becoming a taker, becoming a giver, and give freely, give unconditionally. But we are also many times recipient of somebody else's help or love. And that time, we should be feeling grateful to that person. We should have great gratitude in our heart. And I rate gratitude as one of the biggest and highest virtues in terms of order of virtues. So now, Ashish, like to invite Ashish to speak more about gratitude and grace. Ashish, could you please share your views on that?
Yeah, thank you, Shilpa. Thank you for taking us through the first SOP, which is about giving, which is such a transformative practice. And I often talk about giving in my sessions, and one of the questions which get asked is, will we not become impoverished, whether it is money or whether it is giving love, what if people take advantage of me? What, if I people have fear of becoming a doormat, if I love people too much, or if I do something for too much people, I'll be taken for granted, people will walk all over me, or, I'll lose. So that those kind of fears, prevent people from starting to give. Would you like to share your perspective on that? And then maybe I'll talk more about gratitude.
Yeah, so very well said, Ashish. What I would like to say is, we can start small, start giving in a small way. It's not that we have to start by giving away everything. And as you get more comfortable about the concept, you can take it forward more. And I would say it's okay to err on the side of helping out a person who didn't deserve it. It is okay. If 10% of the people you help were not the deserving ones, it is completely fine. But 90% of the work that you did, the giving you did help people who deserved it. I would say again, seek inspiration from the nature. When a tree is there, it gives shade and fruits unconditionally without restraint. Do that. Once you're uncomfortable, you can withdraw. There is no compulsion. But start it. You will get more comfortable as you go along the path.
Thanks for sharing that, Shilpa. And I can share from my personal experience that it's a very transformative practice, and it shifts your energy level. When you start looking at yourself as a giver, then there is a tremendous shift, in the energy level. You become generous, rather than being a seeker all the time. You become a giver. And similarly, when we practice gratitude, there is a big shift in energy, and from low energy levels you move to high energy levels. And again, it starts by being grateful for small things in our life. Many a times we take many things for granted in our life, and I'd like to share a story of a gentleman who was an MBA but not doing very well in his life, not doing as well as his classmates were doing. So he would often compare himself with the success that his classmates had, and he used to feel impoverished. It so happened after some time, one of his eyes started itching, and over a period of time, over next couple of days, the pain became so unbearable that he had to visit a doctor in a government hospital. And the doctor diagnosed that he has got cancer in the eyes. And the doctor said, "Brother, I'm very sorry to share that we will need to remove your eyes. Otherwise, the cancer will spread and you will die." And this guy thought, anyway, I was doing so badly, rather than be dead, it's better to be blind. And he agreed for the surgery. When the surgery started, the doctor realized that it was a small fungal infection which was causing the itching and not a cancer. So he cleaned up the fungal infection and stitched it back. But this poor man did not know that it was a fungal infection. So when the bandage was being taken off, he was thinking that he will not be able to see. But when the bandage was taken off and he was able to see, he was overjoyed and he was excited at having the vision, having his eyesight back. And he was so thankful that he couldn't stop saying thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And as he kept saying thank you for the gift of his vision, his point of view changed, his energy changed, and he started to prosper in his life. And that, my friends, is the story of gratitude. When we start taking things for granted, then the energy in our life goes out. But when we start being grateful, even for small things, it doesn't matter what we have got. But when we are grateful for what we have got, there is a magic which starts happening, and it has a snowballing effect. As the snowball, it starts small, but as it moves, it gathers momentum. So the practice of gratitude also has a snowballing effect. And once we are grateful for small things in life, it gives us more to be grateful for, and it keeps on moving. Sometimes when I speak about gratitude, people ask me this question: is this not being complacent? No, friends, gratitude is not being complacent. We can be grateful and still aspire for more. The only difference is that we are aspiring for more while being thankful for what we have. Normally what we do is we aspire for more with a feeling of lack. But when we are feeling a lack in our life, whether it is lack of love or material things or progress in career, the more of lack is what we get. But when we are grateful for what we have, we start multiplying it, and it has got a snowballing effect. So that, Shilpa, is about gratitude, which is what I wanted to share with you and with the audience.
No, Ashish, very, very beautifully said. There is any virtue hardly that can beat the virtue of practicing gratitude. I think it is very important we do that, and it completely shifts our energy level, makes us thankful for what we have. Ashish, we would now move to so first SOP was for giving, second is gratitude. Now we talk about the third one, which is balance sheet of karma. So here, again, I'm taking inspiration from the nature only. What better place to take inspiration from? And as you say, as you sow, so shall you reap. So if you have sown the seeds of neem, the fruits that you're going to get will be bitter, they'll be tasteless. But if you have sown the seeds of mango, you will get sweet fruits. Now, what is the difference? Both the seeds got the same attention, they got the same water, sun, air, care, everything. But the result was different. So the difference lies in the seed that you have planted. And that is what happens in real life as well. If you plant seeds of anger, jealousy, hatred, ill will in your mind, water them, they take root, grow, overpower you, and the fruits will be negative, they will be bitter. And at the same time, if you plant the seeds of love, compassion, empathy in your mind and water them, they also grow. And the fruits they bring to you are sweet and tasty. And these are the seeds that will help you in the toughest phase of your life. They will lift you up. So it is very important to do the right action in all aspects of a life and irrespective of which profession you are in. So again, just a minute, friends, just a second. Sorry, my connection went for a second. So again, taking an example from the firm that I work with, it is called Sage One Investment Advisors. Here, and we are related to stock markets, we manage funds. It's a portfolio management company. So the way I like to do things at work is first give investor interest a top priority, because it's my belief, once you've taken care of the investor interest, give it the top priority, your firm's interests are taken care of. The second one is giving priority to your distributors or channel partner interests. We don't work with money, but we try to give them, our endeavor is to give their interest second priority. Third for me is I give priority to my team members, my colleagues, and the last, it comes to me. So this is how, if you can work, and this is what I tell the team members all the time, is that if you practice this, you're working in a very harmonious, a very compatible work culture. We don't need to compete all the time. We need to collaborate and win. And I'll share several examples on how we do that, taking care of investor interest. First is, of course, we buy into the right companies, but we have never ever bought into companies with fraudulent managements who don't follow the right accounting policies or who have a track record of bad corporate governance. So that is something we never ever do, even if there's a temptation of very high returns. So we don't do that. Second is something which is unfortunately very common in our industry is front running. We don't ever do that. So if you're buying a stock for an investor, first we buy it for the investor, and 15 days after we have finished the purchase for an investor, only then if an employee is interested can he or she buy the share of that company. And the same at the time of the exit. If you're exiting, selling a stock, we have to first finish selling the stock for the investor, and only 15 days after we have finished selling the stock can an employee exit. So the entire operation, in the entire way we look at it, entire way we do the research, investor interests are the top priority. And we have been rewarded for this by the investors, by the faith they repose in us. And with all the recent market volatility that we saw in the last few months, we've not had any redemptions. We don't even do any marketing, and we have grown only by word of mouth. And today we manage about 1,000 crore of, today we have 1,000 crores of asset under management. And also, I think the good news just came a day or two back. An independent study has rated Sage One, my company, as amongst the biggest wealth creator over the last decade. So not over a year or 2 years, we've been rated as the biggest wealth creator amongst all mutual funds and PMSs over the last decade. So generally, it is said that nice people finish last, good actions don't benefit you. But I would like to bust this myth that nice people finish last. If you do the right thing, the right results will follow. And that is my very firm belief. And I have seen it time and again, even in my industry, which is supposed to be very competitive and has all sorts of animals. You do the right things, the right results will follow. So what I would like to say, friends, is that be very conscious of what I call is a balance sheet of your karma. Be very conscious of the debit and credit entries that are going in. Don't want to get into technical definitions of the accounting definitions, but debit entries are the negative entries. When you're hurting somebody, it goes as a debit entry. Whatever negatives you do, they will come and bite you either today or tomorrow or sometime in future. And the credit entries are the ones when you help somebody helped a colleague, helped somebody in need, done the right thing, loved somebody, they come as credit entries, and these are the ones that will help you forever, help you out, lift you up in your toughest times. So as a finance professional, people ask me all the time, what is the right equity asset allocation? And of course, as heads of the family, we have to do the right thing in terms of planning investments. So I advise them. But I always tell them at the end, my best tip, the most important tip is investment in a good karma is your best investment, because it will be there with you forever and always help you out. So friends, always invest in good karma. That's the most rock solid investment you can do. And once you start doing all this, practicing the right karma, you will find the stress in your life automatically dissolving away. Next thing, the next SOP I will talk about once again, draws upon from the law of nature, which is law of impermanence. If you see, nothing is permanent, nothing has lasted forever, and nothing will. Not even COVID. Today, if the cases are going up, tomorrow they will come down. That's the law of nature. Anything that goes up has to come down, and one day we will be done with this. And once this is over, the world will be a much better and spiritual place. Already you can see that happening. If you can't go outside, people are going inside. They're becoming more creative. They're becoming more spiritual. They're practicing things like painting, writing, learning new skills, cooking. So people are evolving. And what I want to see here is that even knowing that nothing is permanent, we develop undue attachments to various things. And again, I would like to share a story from my life. In my previous firm, I was healthcare analyst, and I had literally set it up, the practice from scratch. The whole healthcare desk I had set up from scratch, worked really hard, got recognized. And I went on maternity leave. During this period, the firm has recruited somebody else and handed over the healthcare desk to that person. And of course, it was hurtful because it was really like my baby. I'd worked hard at it. Now I had two options: either to wallow in self-pity, negativity, or do something about it. So what I did is I took up another assignment. I started looking at an auto sector. Set it up again from scratch, got recognized for that. And Ashish mentioned about me being India's rated analyst. And that happened when I was looking at the auto sector. So what I'm trying to say here is that pharma desk, the healthcare desk that I had set up, was really impermanent. It was not something permanent. But we do attach undue importance to it, and in the process, we become miserable. So do the right action while practicing detachment, and the right results will follow. And this will lead to you feeling very relaxed and joyful. So cut down the attachment. Nothing in life is permanent. Whether it is good or bad, it will pass, and practice your actions with detachment. This is what I would like to say. The next two SOPs are in a way linked. And if you look at the nature around us and understand the laws of nature, they are very simple actually. They are not complicated at all. The sunset happens at around 7 and sunrise is at 5. And if we can align our lifestyles, our life cycles around this, it is also scientifically proven that it is beneficial. So sleep during these hours, between 7 and 5, and it is really very helpful. Sleep is nature's way of helping us recharge ourselves. But what has happened with the recent lifestyle, we are sleeping later and later and getting up later. So I have a friend who would stay up till 2, 3 in the night and then get up again very late. She's a person in media, and some industries work like that. And she's a very dear old friend. So I suggested to her, why don't you try moving up your sleeping cycle a bit? And she did that. Being an old friend, she listened. And she moved it up half an hour, 1 hour a week. And after a month or so, I asked her. And she said the change in energy level is completely different. I'm sleeping better, I'm sleeping longer, and I get a feeling so much more energetic. And here, another small thing I would like to add is at least a couple of hours before you sleep, cut down on your screen time. Till we go to bed, till our eyes shut, we are on assorted screens, TV, mobile, something the other. Cut that down. Because as I said, sleep is nature's way to help us recharge ourselves, feel energetic, and we are not doing justice to it. So to conclude this point, I would like to say, align your sleeping cycle, the time when it is night, when it is dark, sleep between 7 and 5, you will definitely find a change in your energy levels. The second and a similar point is preferred eating cycle. Now, if you look at the animals, any of the animals, the day animals, not the nocturnal ones, they are all home by 6, 7, and they don't eat after that. But with our current lifestyle, that doesn't happen. We continue eating till very late in the night. And that's not really a very healthy habit. If you really want to look at what was a healthy, sustainable lifestyle, we don't really need to look very far. We just need to see what our grandparents did. My grandmother, she's no more, bless her. She would never eat after sundown. She would finish her meals by 6. She will be up at crack of dawn. And till the day the lady passed away, she was in complete control of all her faculties. She was very healthy. She passed away in the middle of her prayers. She was never dependent on anybody. So to look at what our grandparents did to lead a sustainable and healthy lifestyle, just look at what they did. And they aligned their cycles very close to the nature's. So this is what I would like to say on these 2 points. To have a sustainable, happy and healthy lives, align yourself to the nature's life cycle. So far, friends, we have talked about the laws of nature, how they affect us, and how we can change some of our habit patterns to have a happier, healthier life. And all the actions, friends, that we have talked about are at physical level. But now we will go deeper and discuss a simple technique which will help us concentrate and purify our mind. And this is called the practice of Anapana. What is Anapana? Anapana is a first step in the practice of Vipassana. It means observation of natural, normal respiration as it goes in and as it comes out. It is a simple, easy to learn objective and scientific technique that helps develop concentration of the mind. Why do we talk about observation of breath? I would like also to explain the reasons behind it so that at least the theory aspect also becomes clearer. Observation of the breath is the ideal object for meditation because it is always available and it is completely non-sectarian. And why do not only Vipassana, many other practices talk about breathing as a starting point for meditation? Is because if you look at all the bodily functions that we have, they can be classified into either voluntary or involuntary. So involuntary is like beating of the heart. We have no control over it. We can't say heart stop breathing, slow down, increase the speed. We can't do that. Voluntary are the ones is like I'm talking right now. I can choose to stop. Movement of my hands, movement of my legs. They will not move by themselves, the hands and legs. They are voluntary. Now breath is one such function which is both voluntary and involuntary. I can spend my entire life without being aware of the fact that I'm breathing. It happens naturally. But at the same time, I can increase my breathing, I can slow it down, or I can stop it completely. So breathing is said to be the bridge between our subconscious and conscious mind. And therefore, all meditation practices, at least most of them, start with breathing have breathing as a starting point. But Anapana is very different from techniques that are based on the artificial regulation of breath. There are no rites or rituals involved. And what does it do? It provides us with a tool to deal with fears, anxieties, and pressures across all age groups. And besides helping to calm and concentrate the mind, Anapana helps people to understand themselves better and gives an insight into the working of our own minds. Because of its very simplicity, the technique is easy to understand and practice. Now, like what they say for swimming, you cannot learn about swimming without practicing it. You cannot learn about swimming just by reading about it. Similarly, for Anapana, we cannot understand it unless we have practiced it, we have done the actual practice. So Ashish is a certified mindfulness expert, and I'll request him to guide us through the practice of Anapana. So Ashish, may I just request you to help us here?
Thank you, Shilpa, for sharing the very powerful SOPs with us. And now I would like to invite everybody to try the Anapana meditation. As Shilpa mentioned, it is a very simple practice which can be done by anyone. Please sit comfortably in any posture that suits you. Close your eyes and mouth gently. Keep your back and neck in a straight line. Chin parallel to the ground. And focus your entire attention on the area at the entrance of the nostrils. Focus your entire attention on the area at the entrance of the nostrils and remain alert of every breath that is coming in, every breath going out. Natural breath, normal breath, as it is. If it is long, let it be long. If it is short, let it be short. Passing through left nostril, passing through right nostril, or through both the nostrils. Just remain aware, do nothing. Remain alert, remain attentive, be vigilant. Be aware of every breath coming in, every breath going out of the nostril. It is natural for you to find that your thoughts wander at times. When you find your thought has wandered away, simply bring it back to focus on breathing without feeling guilty or experiencing frustration. Wandering of thoughts is not a mistake. Every time we bring the attention back to focus on breath, we make the muscle of attention stronger. Constantly aware of the breath, the incoming breath, the outgoing breath, incoming breath, outgoing breath. Keep your attention steadfastly fixed on the area at the entrance of the nostril. Keep your attention steadfastly fixed on the area at the entrance of the nostril. Like a gatekeeper, be aware of every breath entering the nostril. Be aware of every breath moving out of the nostril. Like a watchman, be aware of every breath entering the nostril, aware of every breath moving out of the nostril. As we come to the end of this practice, take a full deep breath in, taking in all the energy of this practice. Exhale fully. And when you are ready, open your eyes gently and return your attention to the present moment. As you become fully alert and awake, consider setting the intention that this practice of building awareness will benefit everyone you come in contact with today. Continue to breathe. And once you are comfortable, please share your feedback in the chat about how you felt. Doing this short practice of Anapana. Thanks Vijayji, thanks Ritu, Gitanjali, thanks Anil. Thanks for sharing your feedback, and over to you, Shilpa, for the last part.
Thanks, Ashish. It was incredibly relaxing and refreshing, definitely. So what I will like to do now is quickly summarize the 7 SOPs that we talked about. First one was practice of giving. You may start small, give as much as you're comfortable with. But giving is something that really helps us feel content in our life. Second is practice of gratitude. This is something I rate as one of the highest virtues myself. Third is practice of the right action in all situations, in all aspects of life, in whatever profession you are in. The next one is practicing detachment. So you have to combine the right action with the practice of detachment so that you are able to remain equanimous in all situations, and you will find this taking the stress away from your life. After that was having your sleep cycle in alignment with nature. So try and have your sleeping hours between 7 p.m. and 5 a.m. And similarly for eating cycle, except here we go in reverse. We finish eating before sunset, before 7 if possible, or at least 3-4 hours before we go to bed, and then eat only after 5 a.m. And seventh, and a very powerful technique to purify and concentrate our mind is a practice of Anapana. So these are the 7 SOPs, and it may seem a lot at the beginning, but as you start weaving them in your life one by one or together, you will find it getting easier and easier as you walk along this path. Meditation helps us purify and concentrate our mind and gives us the power, the strength to do the right actions. And the more right actions we do, the more SOPs we follow, it helps us in the practice of, it helps us in the meditation. So the two feed into each other beautifully, creating a very virtuous cycle. Each of these SOPs is powerful by itself. And when you put 2 or more of them together, the benefits are not additive, they are exponential. And you will not only, it's not something that you will feel in the future, the benefits are immediate and will stay with you forever. So now, we have been through this session for close to an hour together, and you will like to ask, and being a true Banya and a finance professional to boot, I will ask it myself, I've invested 1 hour of my time. What for? What are the benefits? I always look for ROI, whether it's RO returns on my time or investment. So the first benefit from these SOPs, practice of these SOPs, is improvement in mental health. You will automatically start feeling happier, calmer. There are no two ways about it. Second is it reduces confusion, gives you clarity of thought. And we face tough situations so many times. It helps us deal with the tough situations, the ups and downs of our life in a much better way. The situations will not go away. Our reaction and how to navigate those situations, the whole process improves. Third, it helps us with the right decision making. There are so many times we find ourselves at crossroads, like, whether I continue with the correct organization or I leave. There are multiple job options, which one I pick up, which university to choose for my child, and zillion others. And I find the practice of these SOPs helps me reach the right decision. There's so many times I've gone to bed in night with a certain question in my mind, and as I'm sleeping, before sleeping, I'm practicing Anapana. And in the morning, when I get up, the right answer just has popped in my mind. Sometimes I'm in meditation, middle of the meditation, the right answer just pops in. So the practice of Anapana, the practice of these SOPs definitely helps us with the right decision making. It also definitely improves our physical health. Along with our mental health, it helps our physical health also. It improves our physical health also. What happens is many diseases are the diseases of the mind. And as your mental health improves, those diseases start disappearing. Many diseases are psychosomatic. So they start going away. So this is not the direct intended result. This is more a byproduct of what we have done. It helps us with improved physical health. And it also slows down aging. And it is very simple to understand. Even if we have a non-living gadget with us, and we take very good care of that. Take an example of a car. We have a car, we get it serviced regularly, we oil it, we take care of it, we love it. And the car will run longer. My friends laugh at me. I have a car which is 20-year-old. And what is applicable to non-living things is very much applicable to us. If we love ourselves, if we take care of ourselves by improving our physical and mental health, by doing the right things, the aging process does slow down. The other very, very important thing is we start taking responsibility for our own actions. Now, typically what happens when we get something, we like to take the credit for it. I got a promotion, I got a salary hike, and it's because of the humongous hours that I put in, I worked so hard. But when something goes wrong, we don't like to take the blame for it. We'll find everybody and anybody to blame for it, government, employer, parents, whatever. So the blame, we don't like to take it on ourselves, the credit we like to. But when you do this practice, as you move along this path, you will understand that you alone, you are the sole person responsible for the outcomes. And we start taking responsibility for our actions. And it is a very, very powerful understanding to have. Even in the material world, you will find things improving. And again, it is no magic. When you do the right things, when you have love, compassion, empathy, kindness in your heart, the nature rewards you. You start the right vibrations, the positive vibrations, they tune in with you automatically. This happens automatically and you will be rewarded. So even in the spiritual world, you are benefiting, but even in the material world, you will see the benefits. Your salary hikes come earlier, your promotions come earlier, your children do better, your family does better. It is but a byproduct and it is bound to happen. And the last and the most important thing is, with this, not only we are able to change our present, but we also choose to change our destiny. Today, what is happening to us is because of the actions that we're doing today and what we have done in the past. But we humans are probably the only creatures in this universe who have the power to change our future and destiny. So choose to do the right things wisely. And I'll be now happy to take any questions, should there be any.
Yeah, sure, Shilpa. Thank you so much for a wonderful session. But before we take questions, friends, we would like to just take your feedback on a feedback form, which we are putting the link out shortly. It will take less than a minute for you to fill out the feedback form. Please share your feedback. Also would like to share with you, so the feedback form has been posted on the chat box. Thank you, Gitanjali, for your comment. Suvida, we will just take your question. Please fill out the feedback form. In the meanwhile, we'll pause for a minute or so for you to fill out the feedback form. Also, friends, we have got very positive feedback from you today, and we are very grateful to you. As a mark of our gratitude, we will like to offer the membership to Mindful Living Community to you. Some of you are members of Mindful Living Community already. Some of you are joining our session for the first time today. So in case you would like to be a part of our community and be part of such sessions in future, please send me a WhatsApp on the number mentioned below, 9899777266, mentioning BO, bonus offer, and your name. And within 24 hours, I'll connect back with you and we will have you enrolled as a member of the WhatsApp community. We have also shared our Facebook page, link to our Facebook page. You can please like the Facebook page. And you know, that's another way to stay connected with us.
Ashish, I have a suggestion. Do you mind if I share it now? Could you also share the link for Anavana practice on the group somewhere? So, you know, even after the session, people find it easy to practice.
Yes. You know, so we will be posting the link, you know, in our WhatsApp community. So in case you would like to have, you could, or if you would like to have the link to the Anapana session, please send me a message on the number mentioned below. We have also shared the link to our YouTube channel, and that's where the recording of all these sessions is put up. So in case you would like to see this recording of this session, or if you would like to share the recording of this session with your near and dear ones, please like our YouTube channel, and you know, that's where you will find all our videos. So you can connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and stay connected. Another 1 minute and we will open it up for question and answers. I'm aware that we have exceeded our time limit, so we will restrict to 1 or 2 questions.
Sir Ashish, can I ask a question? मेरा नाम विकास सेठ है.
हाँ जी विकास जी बताइए.
हाँ, तो मेरा मैडम से क्वेश्चन है कि मैडम आप ये सेज इन्वेस्टमेंट पे हैं, तो ये स्टॉक पिकिंग कैसे कर सकते हैं? और मेरा सन 17+ इयर्स का है, तो मैं चाहता हूँ कि 10-12 साल 30th year, at his 30th year, I invest something today and he sells that on his 30th year. तो ऐसी दो कौन सी कंपनी में इंडिया में ले सकता हूँ जो वो अपने आज 17 साल का है and he sells it around, or he may not even sell it, I don't know, at his 30th year. Thank you.
So Vikas ji, thank you so much for your question and considering me capable of answering it. But my sincere request is that we will take it offline. Ashish, maybe you can connect us later separately.
Sure.
This session, maybe we can focus more on the session that we did. And we'll be very happy to answer your question, Vikas ji, not to say not, but that may not be of interest to others. So we will take it separately offline. Ashish, please do provide the connect later, post the session.
Sure. Thanks, Shilpa. Thanks, Vikasi, for that question. If anybody else has a question, you could unmute yourself and you could direct the question to Shilpa or to me. Thanks, Vikas.
So, madam, can I take another question which is related to your topic?
Please, sir. Please, Vikas ji.
So, I've been reading lately and where the gist I got was that the moment I get myself into joy, or the
Yes.
moment I get myself into the bliss level, then
Yes.
everything starts falling in place,
Yes.
and then the things which I want to get connected to, I get connected to.
Absolutely. It happens. So what happens also, like there is a radio, it tunes in with the various frequencies. The same thing happens with us, sir. When we are positive, when we are doing the right things, we automatically tune in. And this is scientific again, and everybody can feel it from their experience. We tune in with the right frequencies of the nature, and they help us, they lift us up. It happens all the time. And therefore, doing the right actions with the right attitude of detachment is very important. And absolutely what you say, and what Ashish also said, it snowballs. It snowballs, it all comes together, and nature definitely helps us when we are positive and doing the right thing. Thank you, Vikasji.
Thank you for that question, Vikas. We'll wait for another 1 minute and then maybe we will close. And thereafter, you could connect with us on social media or on WhatsApp, and we'll be happy to address your queries. Once again, thank you, Shilpa, for such an enlightening session. We have got very positive response from the people who attended the session today. And thanks everybody for taking out time on the weekend and joining us. Really happy to be able to share this knowledge and insights with you. We will bring the session to a close now. And thank you again, everyone, for joining the session today.
Thanks, Ashish, for inviting. It was really very kind of you. And thanks everybody for taking out time. You could connect separately. And I just hope that I was able to do justice and there were some takeaways from this webinar. Thank you so much. Have a blessed life. Stay safe, stay masked.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish, and thank you, Shilpa, for a wonderful session.